What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and it's been a few weeks since I've done one of these videos. We had this international online bass summit that was super cool. I have this wonderful moment of me on the screen with Christian McBride and John Clayton and Gary Carr, and then my dumb mug. So who knows where life will take you, folks. But I'm back into the groove here, pandemic time, trying to occupy my time, and I'm trying to do some piece of content every week. And I got a lot of content coming up here because I've been working through not only Practisma, this practice journal. This is a 16-week program, and I'm on week 5. So and I've been filming the whole way. So I'm going to have some material to put together and talk about this. I'm really enjoying it. It's very hard for me to sit down and put things on paper these days. I am a digital person, but I also have been digging into incredibly useful exercises by my friend and colleague, Dennis Whitaker, who, by the way, started a YouTube channel of the same name. I'll link up to it right here. It's super cool, folks. Dennis and I have a lot of shared background. I've spent time with him at events, had him on the podcast a couple of times. We have similar teachers. The same teachers in many cases. We went to the same school, at least for Northwestern, and just a similar background. So these really resonate with me. And I ordered this volume 17. Okay, so there's 17 volumes plus an appendix. And your first thought might be, wow, that's a lot of material. And I think another first thought that people have who have looked into what Dennis has been up to is, why don't I just get this volume 17, which is all the exercises in Dennis's incredibly useful exercises series. This is very cool, but the magic of this approach that Dennis is taking is these individual entry points into his whole exercise world. So what this book is an alphabetical listing of every exercise he's got in this series. And it's kind of intended for you to build your own exercise routines out of these exercises. But I'm really also enjoying going through the 16 individual routines. And like I'm going through this Practisma 16-week practice journal, I'm going to take one exercise routine per week and dig into it. So I started today, and even though I've got the paper copy of this here, I got all the other books in digital form. So I have the other 16 volumes plus the appendix, and I am just starting right now, volume 1, and it is very cool. I decided to replace my technique routine, my normal routine, which is roughly an hour, with each one of these 16. So I'm doing one a week, and it takes roughly an hour to do the exercises. And I really enjoy using Modacity for everything practice related. That's my practice app of choice. So what I did is I took this routine and I figured out how long each exercise would take roughly if I wanted to fit it into an hour. And then I built that routine in Modacity. It makes it very easy for me to just open up my iPad, open up my iPhone, and practice through the routine. So let's take a look inside what that routine looks like in detail. All right, let's take a look at this incredibly useful exercises routine. And I've been thinking about doing this for a while. I'm totally lifting this idea from Kenji Lopez Alt, who is a food blogger in the Bay Area here in San Mateo, runs the restaurant Wurst Hall. I'm going to link up to that and to his channel. Definitely check it out if you have any interest in cooking. But Kenji wears a GoPro on his head, and I've been thinking for a while, that might be kind of a cool way to sort of show my perspective of what the bass looks like and sounds like. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to get some better audio. So I do have my Zoom H6 here with the XY right there, and I'm gonna record on this too, just so you get a little bit better audio. But yeah, this is just a look inside a practice session for Jason. So here we go. And you know, I often use a practice mute when I practice, actually. And I live in a condo. I'm sort of used to living with neighbors nearby. And although we're pretty separated here, actually, nobody's going to be bothered by my bass playing. I actually have grown to appreciate the practice mute for a variety of reasons. I feel like it actually kind of cleans up, maybe is the wrong word, my sound, but it sort of takes some of the well, it takes a lot of the ambiance away. And I actually find that helpful, and that seems kind of weird, but I find that just sort of getting that dry sound seems to be helpful. So anyway, but I'm going to take it off for this video, and I'm going to show you just what a practice session looks like for me, and also what going through this incredibly useful exercises does for me. So I'm going to get out of the GoPro app and go over to my Modacity. And so right here I have built together, I have exactly what's in this, which I can flip in so you can see. This is volume 1. So these are all the exercises down to silence. You start with silence, you end with silence. And I have built a timed practice list in Modacity with all these items. So I'm going to start here, tune, rosin, get set. That's maybe that's a dumb way to put it, but got to tune your bass, tune your instrument. You gotta likely need to at least check in with your rosin, and then just a couple like introductory motions. We'll see if I get rid of this since I'm doing this silence and centering. I guess I have to tune anyway. So we're gonna start this up, and I'm just gonna flip through here. Oh, and by the way, this is the Kindle app, which I don't necessarily recommend this over the paper. In fact, I don't. I just have, and actually I have it over here. I can show you. I have incredibly useful exercises. Is this thing films even if I go out of the app, doesn't it? Let's just check. Are we still filming? Yes, we are. Good. Okay. So I have this volume 17, which is all the exercises. And I realized once I got it that just going alphabetically through the exercises, that's not the beauty of the system. The beauty is this, Dennis actually taking and organizing it like this. So anyway, I'm doing it on the Kindle app. I bought all the other 16 volumes. And I would say probably paper is better, especially because as you go through, Dennis has, about the exercise and then the music. That's maybe not the best example because there is no music. But that's a really nice setup so you can see all of this great info. What I'm doing right now with the Kindle, and you could certainly do on whatever device you're on, is I'm kind of looking at this for a little bit and then flipping through. And so you can see I just sort of divided up so it'd be 60 minutes. So we got about 3.5 minutes for most, or actually 3.5 minutes for pretty much everything. This is my second day doing this. I realized that a few of these exercises take longer than 3.5 minutes. So I'm going to have to lengthen them and shortchange or just go over an hour. But I'm trying to be as finicky as I can. Okay. Here we go. Boom. Start. So get the bow. And then I usually use tonal energy right here. Check my bass. And I'm going to, maybe, I don't know what. There we go. Sometimes these apps are a little bit confused by the bass frequency. So I listen for the ring. Oh, by the way, you can see Modacity's counting down. Since I built a timed list, which I don't typically do, but I do find this helpful for trying to sort of stay on track timing-wise. So got a little bit of time. I will get my rosin out. I don't think I want to put any on right now. But I'm just going to have it ready. This is, by the way, this is Leatherwood Bespoke rosin, which has got a very cool logo. And do I need some? Maybe I'll put just a tiny bit on. I got 20 seconds. So pull this out. Don't touch the rosin, folks. Get your greasy fingerprints on it, I think. That's my theory anyway. Maybe just one stroke to start. And then I'm going to cover it up just to keep it dry. And I'm always startled by what's about to happen because I don't usually practice with this, but here we go. Oh, good. I think you can turn that off maybe, but it's helpful just so you don't get lost in what you're doing. Okay, so now, how'd it go? Sure, well. Okay, silence. So I will now be silent. So Dennis says 2 minutes. I'm doing one just for right now. I probably won't be looking at this page as I do this all the time. And you know, it's funny because it feels a little weird to start a practice session with silence, but I actually do that exact process right there before I do my writing for the day and my sort of creative blocks earlier in the day. So I guess it should feel normal for practicing too. Okay, so how'd it go? Okay. Mark Gelfo, who invented this app, he's a lot harder on himself than I am, so I'm trying to be harder on myself. Okay, so centering. This is a really cool exercise. I need to give this a little more time. I'm just going to get into it. So think about my feet. Just sort of come into contact, feel my knees, hips, and then breathe. Lower back, shoulder blades. And as I'm aware of the body part, I'm just trying to let it go. Face, hard to do when I'm talking. Breathe. Right shoulder, probably put my bow down. Breathe. Left shoulder. Body. Arms. Breathe. Okay, I probably need a little more time on that one too. I am discovering, sure, but I need more time. Tonalization. Okay, now we're going to start playing some bass. So again, exercise, finding your voice as a musician. I think this is a really cool exercise. This is a great way to start the day. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get the sound of the pizzicato and see if I can replicate that when I'm bowing. And doing this yesterday, this felt like a pretty good amount of time for this. I might speed this up in the video, we'll see. Just listening to those rings. And now the second part of the exercise, get this. And now you want to think pizzicato with the bow. So you set the bow, and that was a pretty crappy set. So you want to set, grab. There we go, that was a good one. So pits, set, so the bow's there, and it's like pulling a bow and arrow. And going over the D string, that was a better one. Maybe one more of those. And it's just all about really focusing on these. Now, certainly as I do these, or as you might do these, you'd want to try them on different strings and that sort of thing. But now we're just going to do a series. And I do like this progression. Obviously, Dennis has thought through these a lot. Ugh, I think I need more rosin. I'm whiffing. I'm using this drier rosin right now. So, because it's a little warmer here in San Francisco. It's a whopping 71 degrees Fahrenheit today. So I know that's not hot, but the sticky rosin, I'm just worried about it as it gets warmer. Okay, because we don't have air conditioning. So set. And I could probably even be shorter on the string. Yeah, there we go. And you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little bit of powder building up on the string right there. I also like to keep my bass rag handy. This is an Ohio State University bass power bass rag from Barry Green last summer, back when we had live events. So put that up there, and let's try that one more time on the A string. There we go. I'm really making sure my weight relaxes into the string. Go over to the D string, do the same thing. That was a whiff. Set. Ooh, that was better. Set. Let's try one on the G string. I think Dennis is trying to aim for the middle rather than the extremes to start. Although he probably tells you to do it on the other strings. Beware of scratches, slips, crunches and any noise that don't belong in a naturally vibrating string. That's good advice. And I'm realizing as I talk through these, I'm chewing up my time a lot faster. So I really did get through all of these, I think, yesterday, but we're just about to run out of time. So I guess I will kind of shake it out. One, ding. Hey, time's up. It's still good to try to stay on track. I've had a very disorganized day, so this feels kind of good, actually. Okay, glowing tone. This is really cool. This might pick it up, certainly better than the GoPro, but every, this is kind of like a piano in that there are sympathetic vibrations happening here, and there are certain notes in particular, and Dennis has them here, that really get the bass going. So he's indicated what the pitch or pitches you're going to hear are. So I'm going to get this right here. I'm going to play. And you can hear. And you can hear a little bit of, if you listen real close. Well, maybe you can't hear. I can hear it. The high one. Ooh, that was a good one. I feel this kind of gets the wood ringing better when I do this. You can see the A string goes crazy when you do that one. Then he has you do the open A, which is going to get the D string going to a degree. And if you listen real carefully, you can hear that. Yep, there it is. B flat. This one's a little more subtle. That's the one you're supposed to hear. Ooh, there, I'm hearing it. Can you hear that? Yeah. This one, I'm discouragingly not good at getting. So this is B. You can always check. There's a B there, but that is a little bit flat. It's probably why it's kind of hard to get. Something's happening. I don't know if it's a good thing, but something's happening. C. Ooh. It's actually this one that's going. If you listen. Hear that? It goes for a while. Open D. Again, you're going to get the A string going to a degree with the sympathetic vibrations. And I do like to set, kind of similar to that previous exercise, I do try to set and release on that. Good. This one can be very challenging. So it's the same idea. There's that B flat we did earlier. So this is the same spot. And the note we should be hearing is, I think it's that one. He says, hopefully. It's not working. Regardless. I don't think I'm that out of tune. I'm sure I'm a little out of tune. We're always a little out of tune. If we get really scientific about it. Okay, so this one. You can even, I can see, I don't know if you can see that very well, but the E string goes crazy. You can actually see the vibrating halves. Oh, out of time. Okay. Talking through them takes longer. That was pretty good today. I didn't go so well yesterday, but that was better today. Okay, tramplings. I love this one. This is a really cool way to think about developing, well, here, sensitivity and to the elasticity and balance of the hair and stick. Now, so you have two very different motions that you're combining to an extent when you are bouncing the bow. And so the first one Dennis has you start with, I'm gonna get a little bit of this off. And I love having students do this. By the way, this is really hard to do if your bow hold is not set up well, but you're gonna start out here. And like a trampoline, you want to see if you can just kind of ride the wave, let the bow kind of do what the bow does, and just minimally engage over here in the right hand. And you can see my right arm is just very stationary looking. There is a little bit of this motion, just a little bit. But the bow is doing most of the work. Now, that's at the tip. Now going to the frog. That's why he calls it Tramplings basketball. This will probably feel weirder at first. And I'm not doing an amazing demo, but that's part of the challenge. You can see my flappy arm. And then, so that's essentially the idea. It really does feel like bouncing a basketball. Carpet can be helpful when you're learning these because it is possible to drop the bow. It has happened on occasion. So now we're gonna go from tip to frog. So we're going to change that motion. I'm gonna go back. And just kind of go between the two. So right here, you can start to see getting a little more of that bouncing. The bow really is doing the work on both sides. This one, I think is a little easier to kind of grok at first. This one, people just have a tendency to like set it. And, but that's a wonderful exercise. This is one of those that I'm happy to see on paper because it's something I've kind of intuitively practiced myself. I've certainly worked on it with students, but to just have this out there, it's great. It's a really, really useful exercise in my opinion. And I just love the way that these are laid out. You know, he's always giving credit. So Paul Roland, famous violin teacher, string pedagogue, from the state of Illinois. I'm essentially an Illinoisan. My mom won't like hearing that, but I've lived more of my life in Illinois than anywhere else. So, and I used to teach high school orchestra too. So definitely have worked a lot in the world of Paul Roland. This is very cool, by the way. Check it out if you get a chance. I wish he had lived later and had a YouTube channel, although I think you can find some of this stuff floating around YouTube. And I just love the way that these are laid out. How much time, what you're focusing on, mindfulness, control, and time's up. Moving on. That was good. Mark Gelfel probably wants me to be harder on myself, but I'm not gonna be hard on myself. Okay, breathing scales. This is cool. Be careful that you don't, it is like yoga. Be careful that you don't get lightheaded. I get a little lightheaded when I do these. So we're going to exhale on the down bow. This is just a 3-octave, I think, G major scale, but you could do it over whatever. It doesn't have to be, it could be 1 octave if you're starting out. It could just be open strings even. So what we're doing is we're exhaling as we do down bow. Inhale. And I find that when I'm practicing these, it helps as I'm doing the exhale, if I can just feel my body opening a little bit, almost like if I wasn't, well, I'll put the bass down. It's the beauty of the GoPro. I'm almost trying to let my body go like this and like this. Now that's not exactly what happens when I'm doing this, but it's close. I'm not just breathing, or hopefully, and moving like this and like this. I really am trying to let my whole body kind of open and then close. So try that one more time, starting the low G. So open. And it might seem kind of weird. You might think, why? Especially if you're going this, why would you exhale this way and inhale? But try it. It actually feels more natural than you might think. And just since I'm yakking, we're gonna skip and just as many as you can do. Certainly 3.5 minutes is not nearly enough to do any of these, or this whole page rather. So you could do one a day. You could do the whole note and then you could do the 2 halves. So let's do a little bit of the 2 halves. Start on the low G and take a breath. Exhale. and that kind of feeling, and just really feeling like this is a whole body motion as you're going through these. Whether you sit or stand, trying to feel like you're using your torso. And really when I'm standing, I'm even using my legs to an extent. I feel like I'm really rooted to the ground and I'm just letting my whole body move. And if you just sort of think about, if you were in the swimming pool and you're just trying to move your arms like that sort of graceful motion is really helpful for breathing skills or for anything like this. And yeah, it gets a little more complicated. You start to do forward of a bow. So I'd always rather see someone do this for a longer time if this feels too complicated. Okay, moving on. How'd it go? Oh, I forgot to rate it yesterday. I was yakking, so not as well as if I wasn't. I'll do that. String crossing curves. Okay, this is interesting. Caroline Emery, love Caroline, had her on the podcast before. Bow Works, this is a fantastic book. If you do any teaching or just want to learn more about how the bow works, check it out. And I'm kind of crappy at describing this stuff, by the way, so I hope I do it justice. So small curves happen when the bow turns from the up bow to the down bow during a string crossing. That does seem a little bit complicated, but the idea is this is what we would call a small curve. This is what we call a big curve. And let me explain. When we're going, and by the way, this is the opposite on violin and viola. It's just the physics of the instrument. When we're doing down bow on the D string and up bow on the A string, you can see we're using like the same little bit of bow and hair. So it's a very efficient motion. So that's why if you have the choice, you would always start a passage like that down. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but you always would. The opposite is true on violin and viola, though. You would actually want to, that passage, just because of the way the instrument's oriented, you'd want to start, it would be more comfortable going the other direction. Now this, we're using this bit of the bow, and then we lose a little bit of hair. Not a lot. And then I do a terrible job of describing this, but this just requires a greater arm motion, which is why Dennis is calling this a big curve. So the idea is to be as efficient as possible doing all of these. And what he's doing with this exercise is just kind of putting it in different spots on the bass, or at least that's my impression. He's kind of just giving you different things to do with the left hand. So I'll play through a little bit of this. And so if you focus right here, that's a great one. That would be more work that way, but this way, is less work. So it's the small curve. Again, I wish I could describe this better. Okay, let me, I'll do that again and keep going. Then a similar idea, D string. And big curve. So we're just switching it so that it's going to... just focusing on being as curvaceous, I guess, in my motions. I'll have to explain that in another video, or just get better at explaining that in general. But I'm really trying to make everything not like back and forth like this, but always have a little bit of curve to it. And that's very similar to just the Paul Rowland philosophy of teaching. You know what? There's actually a great YouTube channel, which I will link up to, I think here, if I'm pointing right, maybe here, that by Joanne May. And she studied with Paul Rowland, a string teacher in the Chicago area, great orchestra teacher, violin, viola teacher. And she's got some really great concepts that apply over to bass as well. So why did I exit? Oops, I'm going to bow tuners. Okay, so tuning your bow, this is interesting. So the concept is there is an optimum sounding point for every note on a bowed string instrument. So and this is theory, but it's true. We can't be as exact as we might want to when we're playing and doing this, but we want a ratio of 1 to 7, ideally. And by that I mean we want this to be replicated 7 times. I wonder if I'm close. So 1, this is inexact. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, maybe. Suzuki would describe, I believe, as diamond tone. Francois Rabath, the Le Son Premier, my French is horrible. But, so, this, which is how a lot of people sound starting out, or maybe not even that much contact, that's a bit hollow sounding to me. As we get closer, we start to get a little bit of treble in the sound. We start to get a little more highs in the frequency, but we're still keeping the bass. Now, as we're moving this direction, the string, and you can try this, the string is at it feels the loosest. The player perception is that it's the loosest right here. And as you go down and down and down, you can feel that string tighten up. And now as we're getting close to the bridge, and I'm not going to touch here because I don't want to get greasy where I play with my bow, the string is becoming stiffer to us. Now, that's a great sound. And many people like Gary Carr, Jeff Braditich, many other folks, that's where they live. At a certain point, though, you start to go into Ponticello world. If you're Gary Carr, you almost never, you can be up on the bridge and that doesn't happen. But I do think it's great to try to find that spot and find it with your ears, where you got the highs, but you've also got the lows. And Dennis just goes through, and it's very simple but profound, which I love exercises like that. So that's a pretty good spot for the D string. Now I'll try to move so you can see this. If I didn't move, that's going to have that hollow sound, like being there. Versus. We want to get that treble in the sound. So. And then Dennis sends you up to right here. And then the whole idea is just transitioning between these. So with my remaining few seconds, I'll just play through this. Then he puts you up here. And then the rest of the exercise is just add a couple of variants. It's the same concept. We can look at those later. 5 stars yesterday. I don't know. Maybe it was. Okay, long tones. Oh, and there's a ton. So that one might need more than 3.5 minutes. Maybe not if I'm talking, though. So if I'm not talking. So long tones. This is a great one. I definitely need to give this one more time because yesterday I only got halfway through it. So the idea, and Dennis has a great video out for this one. He's going to end up putting a video out for every single one of these. Hasn't yet, but they're coming. I believe that he's doing one for every single one. It's a simple one. I'm going to turn on the metronome for this. Simple but deep. Incredibly useful exercises. That's the idea. So we got 100. 2 to a bow. This is gonna feel a little fast. 1, 2, 3, and. Now 3 to a bow. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to use all the bow and just I'm trying to picture the fractions. So that first one was very easy. We had a half note. So we're just going 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm dividing into thirds. 1, 2, 3. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, fourths. And I'm trying to do that all the way down to, what is this craziness? That's 20. It can be done. Okay, let's see how far we get. I'll cease talking and commence playing from the beginning. One more time. 2, ready, go. Six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it's getting more challenging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. More challenging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Think about the big muscles. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's such a great exercise. Dennis, I believe he was saying that he does it before the opera. By the way, notice I'm trying to reset whenever I can when I'm practicing. A move that I really like to do, I have no idea who I picked this up from, so thank you, whoever. I just love putting my hands here and just kind of getting in this position because we spend so much time in this position with one hand above the other. I like to go neutral as often as I can. And I'm always trying to think about the entire body as much as possible when I'm practicing. So, And you know, I just use a straight end pin. A lot of people are using angled end pins, wooden end pins these days. I think they're great. I was just on a phone call today about why I'm not doing that. The answer is I don't know. I probably should, but this is what I use. But I'm trying. What my point was, I'm trying to stay as balanced with the bass and have it be as close to what I would do every day. Apparently, I did not do well on long tones yesterday, nor did I today. In fact, I did a little worse. 2 stars. Mark Gelfa would be proud. Okay, color and dynamics are different. This is really cool. So these slashes, which if you play orchestral music, you would recognize, or other types of music, you would recognize these as like repeated notes. That's not what these are here. 3 slashes means near the fingerboard. 2 slashes means in the middle. 1 slash means near the bridge. Keeping the same arm weight. So we're trying to change color, not dynamic. And by the way, there's a great app for this. I wonder if I can split screen this. I'll bet I can. Tonal Energy, which you saw earlier, made appearance. It has this analysis mode. And let me turn off the pitch and just have the wave. Oops. There. This is a great one because you can see, like, check it out. I love objective feedback like that. I'm looking at how my voice looks right here. I'm looking at how crazy my pitch looks. Sorry about that. Ignore that part of the screen. But I find it super useful to get some sort of feedback on something like dynamics. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to try to do these with this on. So we're going to start near the fingerboard. Middle, bridge, middle, and just like I'm making it like sonic sausage is what I'm trying to do right here. I'm just trying to keep everything as level as possible. So if I was seeing you can see my bow changes are uneven right there. You can see I'm increasing the dynamics. So it's a pretty useful bit of feedback, by the way. It's probably driving you crazy though with that flashing. So we'll go back to this. And he just, like the other exercises, he just mixes it up. I think this is a cool one. This is one, maybe it's the other one. He talks about how it's great to do this when you're coming back from a break from the instrument. Many of these exercises I find to be particularly useful for kind of getting your brain dialed in. I almost feel like I'm more in focus after practicing some of these. And you can tell, so this is all, in fact, this whole volume 1 is all about mindfulness, really. So yeah, we're not focusing on power, velocity, coordination, endurance. We will in some of these other exercises, even I think with some of them from today. But yeah, control is a big one. So just trying to see if you can go from that more hollow sound to that more balanced sound to that verging on Ponticello sound while keeping the dynamics the same and doing it through different ranges. Because right as soon as you go to like this position right here, which Dennis refers to as third position, it has many names. All of a sudden we've lopped off a third of the string, and it is actually exactly a third. Those are your harmonics that indicate that. So you need to now adjust your contact point so it's like a sliding scale. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'll continue rating myself more harshly than normal. Okay, I love this. This is a range of the bass that if you're a beginner, you might not be super familiar with. I encourage everybody to get into these. I think I ran out of time doing these yesterday. In fact, I know I did. But the cool thing was when you get up to 6th position. Okay, so real quick, we're talking the George Vance, Francois Roboff positions. First position is like everything to hear. There's a harmonic. Second position, and adjacent areas. That's all like second position. That's why I sometimes call them regions. So you got first, second, third. It's right there. So again, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And then when you get up here, there's like a harmonic every couple millimeters. And we don't really play them on the E string much, but they're there. So you have triads and also I can't get it today, but you have a bunch of you have a minor 7th octave and a 9th there. You can combine those to make all sorts of well-known melodies like this. And so on and so forth. So why am I practicing children's songs up there? Well, there are a few reasons. One, by the way, we've talked about it here, is getting comfortable playing closer to the bridge. Won't feel as weird to get up on that when you're playing other music if you've had some exposure up there. Also, it expands your range. It's cool to play those notes. It's great. We have a huge range as bass players, even if you don't have an extension. And then, in terms of the technique up here, a couple things that'll help. One is that instead of landing with flat hair, I'm really trying to angle my bow hair up there and really get on a little bit. Just using I'm not even using all the hair. I'm probably using like half the hair up there. If I use all the hair, you get a little more of a pressed sound. And then real quick, the other tip. You notice I am not landing. Hopefully you can see this. I'm not landing directly on my fingertip. I'm almost placing my fingers on the side of the string, and I have a long fingerboard, so I'm like touching the fingerboard. If you don't have the fingerboard up there, don't worry about it. Not needed, but I find that by being on the side, it's like that fleshy part seems to activate the harmonics better up there. It's something about just using the tip. It's almost too exact. And I find myself and students missing notes up there. So there are a ton of tunes in here, by the way. That's a great part. Quick and Dead. I think this is Dennis's first or second video. This is a fascinating one. This is a patting your head and rubbing your stomach kind of exercise for sure. And it gets you thinking about when you're putting down fingers. So the way this works is the asterisk. I always had a hard time saying that word. Asterisk is where you put the finger down. So you're going like this. Oh, sorry, I screwed it up. Let me do that again. It's hard to look at both places. So this, that first finger goes down where that asterisk is. Same thing for fourth finger. So it's going to look like this. I might have screwed that last one up, but that's the idea with these exercises. And it's a great way to just get you thinking about when exactly are you moving the hand. You know, I think having the ability to be precise like that is just really beneficial for so many aspects of our musicianship. And then we move where that happens. So now we're going to put it on the third eighth note. So now it's going to be like... And then Dennis says this is the hardest one, and I agree. You put it down the moment you move on. So this one's good to practice a little slower. So it's gonna be like this. Wait, I screwed that up. Let me try that again. There it is. And it's funny that that's the hardest one because that is so often what we need to do is get somewhere as soon as possible. So they're all valuable, but that one for sure is super useful. Let me just play through that one. Oops, I screwed it up already. Can't look in two places. Got to set up the other camera. That gets more challenging when you're wearing a camera on your head, for sure. And I love that. That's, again, why I don't think this Kindle version, the way I'm looking at it, I think I can get it to do 2 pages somehow. Maybe I can't, but I that's what I love about the paper version. Let me open up Quick and Dead. Q. Yeah, here we go. So see, being able to see the why, the how, the facts, all that stuff, and then that is really cool. I think the plus side, I think I can click this probably. No, I can't. Okay, I guess, well, maybe I can. But anyway, regardless, time's up. Yeah, sure. Okay, tempo and dynamics are different. This is a cool one. It's trying to get you to use different bow speeds and not rush or drag. This is by far the most technically challenging one that we've done so far. There are many that are technically challenging, and some of these other routines are more so, which you will discover if you go through these. But the idea is we're going to change these dynamics by going bow speeds. So I'm going to start with very little bow speed. So just a couple things that was like a 5 out of 10 at best. But a couple of things that I just want to point out. Well, one thing, the tempo marked here is 134. Dennis says between 100 and 140. It's a little bit of a challenging one in my opinion. So I would start at 100 or less until you get the pattern down, because you might not be expecting where the notes are or where the leaps are. Also notice he's going between the extremes for the first line. So pianissimo to fortissimo. Then he's starting to do gradations, right? So he's going pianissimo all the way to fortissimo, fortissimo all the way down to pianissimo. More subtle gradations, only forte to pianissimo, fortissimo to piano, pianissimo. Now you're actually changing, over a couple bars, and then one broad change, and then all these bow variations. I love this one. It's tricky. I'm gonna play it to the best of my ability with the minute and 44 seconds I have, and not too fast. Oops, it's supposed to be pianissimo. And I should really, I messed up, so I'll stop. I should really go for that more. So start soft. And that is a tricky motion, folks. If you think about it, you're starting up here, and we're going to end up down here, which is a couple feet, maybe, almost, in just a matter of seconds. We also have, which is why I like to practice this one slow, we also have 4-1, thumb 1, thumb, I'm getting burned out, thumb to 4. That's a tricky motion. Trying to get those in tune. Lots of string crossings, lots of stuff in here. They're all good. What can I say? But that one, I think, and they all hit on different levels. That one hits on a whole bunch of levels. And then the logic to these progressions, I think, if not obvious right this second, becomes obvious. And you're going to see that here, just in terms of the way that this one, but especially the next two, sort of build on each other. Okay, so tapers are we're practicing phrase endings essentially here. Expression, huge, sure. So what's a taper? Anything that, it's the musical equivalent of, can't hear that well, but, and just the natural decay of a note. Now, that's an easier thing to do on a down bow because it's kind of built for it. You have the weight, and then you just let it go. Up bow is a little more challenging. You gotta really make sure that you can back it up. I'm gonna just check. This is my first recording on this. I'm just gonna make sure my GoPro's going. It is going, folks. Wow, look at that. Look at that angle. By the way, I'm deliberately dressing like a schlub and just trying to have life be as real as possible. There's my blender. All that, because this is life, folks. I'm just getting a little sick of using my nicer lenses and trying to get the light perfect and everything, because it's just not. Anyway, sorry, I'll shut up. We'll talk about that another time. Let's do some tapers. So we're going to use 4/5 of the bow and then 1/5 of the bow. So 4/5, 1/5. Okay, so that's going to look like this. Just a little. Yeah, I'm relatively in tune. And I think if Dennis heard this, he would say, "You can do better, Jason." Right, Dennis? He talks about this here. I was very much mezzo forte. Mezzo forte is the death of musical expression. Yikes, but true. And how often, if you're like me, when you listen back, do you think, oh boy, there's no variation. There's no dynamic variation. There's no, So practicing these things in your technique routine like this, I think is super cool. So let's try to amp up the variation. Yeah, it's okay. I'm a little bit sophisticated with the ends of those, but that's okay. Then it's not okay, but it's okay for now. Now, this is something you're going to see a lot here. I thought these were misprints at first, but he's starting to mix up the bow. Or wait, I might be confused. I'm confused. That's coming. Okay, this one is normal. It's just down, up. Just trying to make it sound as similar to that, right? And then the more challenging one, in my opinion, is C, which is up, down. And you can hear I have a tendency to bump it, and I guess I'll have to say that for tomorrow. That's okay. That was not awesome. The exercise is awesome. Rivets. These are really fun. We're trying to develop the ability or refine the ability to have like one impulse create multiple notes. Here's what I was thinking of with the bow directions. This is really fun. You got to pay attention to the way the bow is going. So the bow stroke is like, I'm not riveting well today. Let's look at Dennis's description. Velocity, coordination, mindfulness, that's all true. The right pectoral muscle must always remain still. It wants to pop when you throw the bow, but don't let that happen. So I don't want to pop right here. You want to keep the bow on the string. There we go. There are going to be spots where this is easier to do than others. That's going to feel more awkward. That's going to feel more awkward. Right around balance point, like many things. Or for me, slightly beyond seems to be really good. So, and I also find that I haven't worked on this with the metronome. Maybe I should. I found that even adding more space between them is okay. I call these thinking pauses. And I guess I should leave the bow on the string the whole time. And you hear I'm not always. I'm really trying to get that. By the way, going back to glowing tones, I should be hearing a G. There it is. All right, so we'll play a little bit more. And this can be confusing. It's confusing for me a little bit right now, frankly. Not the concept, just my coordination. It's fun to switch around the grip, too. Try this like this way. If you play French, switch over to German or vice versa, just to see how much is similar, but the few things that are a little bit different. And then this is like patting your head, rubbing your stomach to the extreme. So it's like and really just feel like it's one motion. Just kind of like that, okay? So it's like, and I'm really trying to make sure that I'm not activating here. And for this one, don't worry. My advice would be don't worry about time to take a break. Almost. Not quite. Don't worry too much about power. Think about precision over power. So don't try to get like, or something like that. These are the types of motions that my brain burns out on if I do too much of them. So probably 3.5 minutes is probably the max I would do on that. How'd that go? Not as well as yesterday. dig it up. Okay, so this is an example of these exercises building on each other. 3 notes. So very, very similar. Yeah, very similar. It is a little more, careful. Don't let things pop. So, and I believe he wants you to keep the bow on the string, right? Yeah, so it's the same thing. So, dig it up, dig it up. Is that why he called it that? Sure, it must be. Yeah, the sound you make when you play the 3 notes. Dig it up, dig it up, dig it up. Paul Rowland, Suzuki, Paul Ellison, and Jeff Bradidge in there. All amazing teachers. So, notice the bow direction, and then notice how it changes. I'll just shut up and play. And definitely give yourself breaks in this and really try to make sure that the springiness of the right hand, fingers, everything is just working really well. No matter what direction. Now, we amp it up a little bit. And we're switching it up as we go. So I'm going to start the second half, measure 16 right here. I feel like I'm screwing this up. I'm going to start that over one more time. I'm going to go a little slower too. Dig it up, dig it up, dig it up, dig it up. Oh, there, yeah, he's mixing it up. So I'm going to start mixing up the dig up. Okay, so we'll start on the C right there. Why can't I get that one? I'm going to go slower. By the way, just notice how many, and it's something I'm going to point out here. Notice how he ends, I think every one of these with center, right? Yeah, which I'm not doing because I'm yakking. But just sort of like come back to your center of gravity, kind of like right here. And just sort of like stabilize for a second. I think that's so great. By the way, you may have noticed how many times I've told myself to slow down. That's not a new thing. And I haven't even had that much coffee today. But this is also a pretty universal thing, is everybody practices everything too fast, right? Me included, as is obvious in this video. So if I was watching back, which I guess I will as I edit this painfully, looking at myself practicing badly at times, like taking it slow. That's where I don't always practice with the metronome. I've only turned it on once today. Normally I'd probably turn on a little more than that, but really erring on the conservative side with tempos, I think, is important for stuff like this. Or anything. Okay, spiccato, beautiful. Okay, so 4, and then, notice he doesn't put power in there, which I think is really cool, because he's beauty before power. Is what he's saying. Spiccato is first and foremost about a clean, articulated stroke. Power will come naturally after you have mastered a beautiful bounce. Truer words were never spoken. So choose 1 or 2 tempos to explore today. Let's pick a conservative tempo. Let's do, and there are all these different types of spiccati. Sautier is in the same like general family, but is a little more on the string. So we have like a slow heavy. Maybe I'll play C. And there's a debate with spiccato. Do we start on the string and come off? Or do we start from the string? And everybody from Hal Robinson to Mark Morton to many other people I've seen talk about it, heard talk about it, read their thoughts on the matter, the violin world, everything else is, it's something that people think about. Something that I think works well is if you're playing by yourself, or if you're playing a solo recital, or even in a string quartet, quintet, something like that, I do think it's okay to start from off the string, because really, if you start the first note on the string, it is a different thing than starting it from the string. This is technically like it's on and comes off. This starts. Now, if we're playing in an ensemble in a bass section, string section, oh boy, having 6, 8, 20 people try to land at the same time, much more challenging than starting. So I think it's good to practice both ways. I'm going to start on the string today, but really it's only the first note's on, everything else is off. And we're going to do that heavy stroke. And we're going to do, we got 8, and then we got, this looks more complicated than it is. We're doing 8 reps per note, then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, then finally 1, up and down. I yacked through this whole thing, but even when I'm not yakking, I did not get through the whole thing with 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So I'm going to have to, if I want to keep it around an hour, I'll have to sacrifice time somewhere else and bump this one up. But I'm going to play, I'm going to do like, not too loud. And I'm really trying to make it sound like, if I had to pick, this would be a good demonstration time. I'm not trying to sound like, I'm not trying to be heavier on either direction. I'm really just trying to get it as even as possible. I think open strings are fine, but you can close them. So on and so forth. Play in tune, Jason. That would be nice, but that's okay. Hopefully this is coming through okay on the H6. This is a first experiment, and I'm getting a headache from my camera strap. I think I need to loosen it for the next video, but it's all good. Okay, spiccato. Sure, whatever. That was fine. Fine enough. I need to push myself more on that. Chompers. Okay, I love this exercise, and Dennis talks about being in the car, at rehearsals, at his desk, practicing this rotation movement. So this movement, I'm going to do it on the side of the bass, is essentially this. So what we're doing is we are using the pronation function of our forearms to put down the string. This is a bit of a weird concept for many people at first, me included. I don't remember when, I think maybe like late high school I started to figure this out, how this works. Because we have like typing motions that we can do in string playing, right? We spend so much time at computers these days, but then we also have motions that are a little bit more like kneading some dough or a ball of clay or something like that, or even like turning a doorknob. And we want to be able to do both. So Dennis's a concept, it appears, I believe, with this exercise is to develop that. So chompers, he's going to take and he's going to have you go through. And I encourage you really kind of see, you can hear that finger articulation. Although I sliced my second finger making biscuits about 5 days ago, so it's starting to feel better today. But folks, don't reach into the food processor for any reason. Yeah, lesson learned, Jason. Okay, so here, see if you can hear me do these. There, better in tune. Hear that right there? Yeah. It's not as obvious in the G string because it's thinner. And if you start to get tired, stop, and you really want to make sure that you monitor fatigue and possible creeping in tension with anything like this. Signs of tension that I see a lot are anything that's like pointing out like this. Like if I see someone's pinky going like this, that's usually a sign of tension. I think the flatness of your fingers can vary depending on the size of your hand and what you're doing. I have times in life when I play very much on my fingertips. Probably that's most of my life. I do have times when I flatten it out a little bit, and certainly if I'm doing double stops or chords or that kind of thing. But to give you a rough idea, I'm kind of showing you that's about where the strings land on my fingers. So right about there, right on that stinking cut. So I have to kind of modify that for right now. But yeah, chompers is awesome. You can go a little faster than I was going, but don't go so fast that you sacrifice the click. And there's definitely a little bit of the patting the head, rubbing the stomach in that one, in my opinion. That was a little better. That wasn't so bad. Silence. We'll end together with silence. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Think about lengthening the torso. It probably would take a little longer than this if I wasn't filming. Put the hands here. Ooh, and my Brut IPA just got delivered. So anyway, folks, I hope this was helpful. I probably, my hair probably looks horrible. I may do more of these. If you like them, let me know, either in the comments here or however. And yeah, I mean, this is one of 16 volumes, so we got a lot more to do. If you're digging these videos, let me know. And I have no idea how to shut off my GoPro. We're gonna learn together. We're living our awkward life together.